Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time, I know. I figured today I was going to do something that's kind of interesting me right now. I'm really, I got spring fever, I guess, and I'm dying to create some garden space, get ready for gardening this year. I didn't garden last year, and that was a big letdown. I know it's probably not something that I should be considering my top priority in terms of building a homestead, but I really love it, so I guess I'm going to focus on it. All right, I'm going to show you how I'm going to figure out what trees are in my way. I don't want to cut more trees than I have to. Simply because I love that aspect of the property. So I want to figure out where my garden's going to go, figure out which trees are in the way in order to get adequate sun. And so anyways, let me show you how I'm going to do that. So one of the first things I need to do is figure out exactly how big I want the garden to be. My current plan for the first year is to set aside about a 50 by 50 foot space. I also want to think about a greenhouse. So, I've been having a real hard time determining exactly what I want where, but I'm going to have to make a stab at it and go from there. All right, so I've gone about 50 foot there. Kind of lines up pretty well with the clearing that I've already made. Obviously got a lot of stuff over here that needs to be dealt with. Stumps and trees and a pile of logs to cut cordwood. Whoa! Just step through a hole in the snow, drop down a foot or so. Here's some interesting stuff. I downloaded this off of the internet, and with this I'm going to set up my tripod and figure out what trees are in the way. So here we got this other contraption too. Anyways, I'll show you how this is going to work. Okay, here I am, approximately in the southeast corner of my property. Excuse me, not the southeast corner of my property, but the southeast corner of where I'm going to put the garden. Now, I think I managed to do a pretty good job of clearing the necessary trees in terms of stumping. The rest of these trees I got to cut. I am not going to stump them. I'm just going to drop them and leave the stumps. I never intended to stump large amounts of this property. I kind of think, how would it have been done by pioneers? They certainly weren't stumping everything, and I have no interest in doing that either. So I'm going to level up my my tripod here. Okay, that's pretty good that way. Let's. In my case, true south is about 15 degrees to the right of the pointer. Magnetic north, it varies depending upon where you are in the country in terms of how accurate it is in terms of true south. So I had previously verified what is true south by using the website there that's provided by the government, the NOAA Sun Calculator. So I use that to figure out exactly the time of the particular day when we'd be exactly in true south or solar noon. So on that particular day at that time, I put 2 ribbons from 2 spots that line up exactly with solar south. And then I went over to that location with this compass, and I can see we're off about 15 degrees. All right, so I have this set at about true south, and my piece of paper there is also set up about true south. Now for this guy, the way this works is at different times of the day, you know, you've got the sun, it's going to come up in the east, and it's going to go up till it hits the zenith, I guess is what they call it, which is high noon, and then it is going to go down again in the west. So using that NOAA website, I'll put a link to it in the description here. Using that website, you can scroll through the map, find your exact spot. It'll pick up your latitude and longitude just by zooming in on the map. After you get that latitude plugged in, you can then go and choose the day and the time of day that you're interested in finding out how many degrees east and west, and then how many degrees from the horizon up to the sun. I've gone ahead and done that. May 24th here in New Hampshire is the day where you're almost guaranteed not to have a frost after that point. I'm going to open my spreadsheet. All right, so what I did here is I used that website and I looked at what are the sun angles during the day. What I found out is on May 24th, 12:42 is exactly high noon. This is after daylight savings time, so on and so forth. But on that day, that is when the sun is directly at 180 degrees. So 180 degrees from due south. I recorded the degrees and the degrees east and west and the degrees from the horizon going up. So I'm going to set this thing up and I'll show you how it's going to work. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out with the data that I collected, I figured out where high noon was, and then I wanted to go, I wanted 7 hours of direct sunlight on my garden. You know, some parts of the garden will actually have more direct sunlight because it'll be further to the north. But on the the southeast corner and the southwest corner, I wanted to have 7 hours of sunlight. So what I did is I took high noon and I subtracted 3.5 hours. So if high noon is 12:42, 9:12 is 3.5 hours before, and 3.5 hours after is 4:12. So I took 1 hour increments across the entire day and found out the bearing and the azimuth, I guess you call it. So I'm going to use that to figure out where we're at here. So I need 100 degrees bearing and 41 degrees azimuth. All right, so I set up the gauge from the pivot point along 100 degrees, if we move that thing, you'll find that there's 100 degrees. If this is 90, 10 degrees more is 100. It's got two different markings. There's two different ways of calling out bearings. The government website starts at 0 degrees being due north. And as you go clockwise from there, you add 10 degrees, you know, you count your degrees clockwise from due north from an aerial perspective. So 90 degrees here is due east, and 10 degrees over is 100 degrees. So I've got myself set up 100 degrees bearing, and I've got my azimuth set to about 41 degrees. So if I come over here and I look across the edge of this cardboard, I can see all the trees that are going to be in my way. All right, so my next reading is 114 degrees bearing and 52 degrees azimuth. I guess this is I believe this is a black birch. Well, just gonna tie it on here. You know, as I take out the trees, the primary ones blocking the view, of course I'm going to have to take out a few other trees just to be able to clear them without them hanging up and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to stump these. I'm just going to cut these. Well, probably when I cut them, I'm going to cut them in the snow here. I'm going to leave a little bit of a stump. But come spring, when the snow is gone, I'm going to come back and cut these stumps as low as I possibly can to the ground. Okay. My next point says 133 degrees at 61 degrees azimuth. I can see right along this line and see what's in the way. Well, I gotta say, I'm really impressed with this. I'm impressed in the sense that I don't have to cut nearly as many trees as I thought I had to. You know, if I had started doing this clearing without doing this method, I would have cut down so many more trees than what's required here to give me 7 hours of sun. So, you know, what I did was 7 hours of sun at the first day of planting season. Obviously, as the season goes on, and again, that's at the southeast corner and the southwest corner. Within the area of the garden, there'll be more hours of sun on that first planting day than there will be in the southwest and the southeast corners. And throughout the season, all spots within the garden will end up with more sun. Now, in New Hampshire here, I saw that, I think it was September 20th is the really the date when you're likely to see a frost. I did collect the angles for September 20th, and they are a little closer to the horizon than the angles on May 24th. So that means I would actually have to clear a few more trees to achieve that 7 hours of daylight in these southern corners. But what I'm planning on is getting the garden planted. If, as the season goes on, you know, if I get towards that tail end of the season and I'm not happy with the amount of sun that the garden's getting, it's going to be easy enough for me to take the excavator, go over next to a tree, notch it, and push it over, make sure it doesn't fall on the garden. Anyway, but you know, I probably won't have to clear anything further. And if I do, you know, the garden will have had its most of its season, and I can just get it a little more sunlight at the tail end. I know this is a pretty low-tech, zero-expense solution that, you know, using a transit, it would be a whole lot easier to do this. But, you know, there's a lot of fun in doing things from scratch, not really spending any of the money on it. And just, you know, it's more fun. It's kind of falls in that, it's all part of that simple living kind of mentality. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for taking the time to watch. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Take care.